This content is brought to you by our channel members. Thank you very much. Before we get on to our very controversial topic here, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for the 1,000 subscriber goal that we hit today, and we've actually gone a little beyond it. Now that means I am fully monetized, which again, my gratitude is deep and immense. And it also means that the special 1,000 subscriber video or live stream in this case will be on its way. It is going to be a 5th edition dungeon run, a one-shot adventure wherein I will send you, with the help of the Brass Drake, who will be playing sort of a companion for your party, into a dungeon to delve its depths and plunder its trinkets and treasures. The sign-ups for this will begin shortly, but to participate, you must be a member of the channel at the Loresworn level or higher. Now, I do apologize for the monetary paywall here. It's to keep out the crazies. But without further ado, I was asked a question by one of my channel members. I think this is Skull's wife. Uh, and This is Cranberry Jam over on X, who tagged me and has caused a bit of a firestorm about evil paladins breaking their oaths and becoming good paladins. We often think about this in the opposite way around, of course, where the good paladin becomes the Oathbreaker, and the Oathbreaker in 5th edition is simply a blackguard. There is no real way around it. Blackguard coming from 3rd edition, although I always thought there was one in 2nd, although that might have been an addition in Baldur's Gate 1. Now, the main problem we're going to run into off the bat when we talk about paladins is 5th edition paladins are mechanically very strong in terms of dishing out damage on the tabletop. Flavorfully, they're a lot weaker than their historical ancestors, so to speak. How do I mean? Well, we did an entire stream on this, by the way, with Brass and Dean about paladins, and the Dungeon Delver himself, whom you should definitely go and subscribe to, responded with his own stream because this is something people feel very passionately about. And it's something I feel quite passionately about as well, because my first ever character in 3.5 was a human paladin. Big sword, plate armor, let's game. And I've actually recreated him sort of for the Brass Drake's personal game that I play in, where I have recreated him as an Aasimar paladin. Plate armor, big sword, let's game. Although actually he's using a magical shield at the moment because needs must. What I'm trying to say is paladins have a history. And even with the human and Aasimar that I've just described, you can probably see what that history is. The paladin in sort of culture, in the cultural milieu that we inhabit, is a warrior, a human, lawful good, plate mailed, sword wielding champion of the gods. And there's a good reason we think this way. The word paladin, I believe, stems all the way back to Roman guards. But if you look more closely at, say, Charlemagne's court, you'll start seeing this idea of chivalry come through into this office. And you've got the story of Roland keeping the Moors out of France when they tried to invade up through the Pyrenees out of the Iberian Peninsula. He gave his life and is sort of remembered fondly in history as one of the first, if not the first, example of a true knight or a true paladin. And then, of course, there is in the British Isles, my home, you have the Arthurian legends, where Arthur and his knights of the Round Table quest for the Holy Grail, and they become these sort of chivalric, virtuous idols, so to speak, and people seek to emulate them by taking chivalric vows. The idea of courtly love comes out of it. Then you have Chaucer, and it all begins to sort of evolve in the Western world as this. A paladin is a knight that is blessed by God or the divines or the gods, or however you want to think about it, and they are in some way empowered to do violence. Is how this works. This is most probably historically exemplified by the Crusades. It's why you don't really have a paladin that is a mujahideen, so to speak, which is sort of the Islamic variant of the crusading knight that went on jihad. The reason you have the Paladins so ingrained with the Western crusading knight, with the great helm and the sword and the cross, is because that's where it's come out of. The Paladin is a knight, a chivalric knight. That is simply the basis of it. Its root. It comes out of Western Europe. And that is translated into our fiction. Even if you read some of Robert E. Howard's stories, and he's talking about, especially in The Shadow of the Black Colossus, which is one of my favorites, you have this idea of knights charging into battle in full plate regalia. And it's very strange in the way that he does it, because they're quite far east at that time. But even then, the imagination of the knight and the lance and the charge is there. The very Western European flavor of it. Cataphracts had existed beforehand, so to speak, in the East, with the Parthians and the Byzantines and then the whatnot. But let's not get too lost in the weeds. I think it's so incredibly deep in our sort of Western consciousness as to what a paladin is. If you go out onto the street and you speak to someone who doesn't know anything about a paladin, they might have an answer as to what it is, and they will probably tell you it's a knight. In fact, why don't I run a little experiment, shall we? Well, that didn't quite work because he didn't pick his phone up, but we'll continue anyway. Look, what my point here is that a paladin in modern mythology, in modern culture, is the plate-armored big sword man that does justice and is blessed by the divine powers of the world that he or she inhabits. Evil paladins are an interesting thing. Third edition would call them blackguards. I think they're in second edition as well, although I'll gladly be corrected by that, because my experience of second edition is relegated only to the Baldur's Gate video games and the Icewind Dale video game to speak of. So I do not believe that an evil paladin is going to work in most settings. I think you would probably just have an evil knight, perhaps with some magical powers, if you wanted to make a boss fight of some sort. But that's not actually the main issue that I have with this question, Cranberry. The main issue I have with this question actually is an issue within 5th edition itself. And that is, I do not think that the oath system is all that great in 5th edition. I don't think it makes sense that a paladin can have no deity, but can gain divine level casting from saying a magical promise. I just don't see it functioning. There's a lot I can believe in dragons and things like that, but I can't think of a promise being made to the air giving you the ability to smite someone with the power of the sun. This is why in my games, I've made it quite clear that if a paladin goes against the alignment of their god, and I use I think I got this particular rule out of 4th edition's Dungeon Masters or the Guide or Player's Handbook. I'm not actually sure which. I may be incorrect. I may be misremembering. The paladin, the paladin's alignment must stay within 1 step on the alignment chart in either direction of their deities. So let's say a paladin of a lawful good god must be good. They can be chaotic good, they can be neutral good, but they must be good. Lawful good would still be better, in my opinion. You should match your deity in the exact amount possible, but it's, I think, supposed to give a little bit of leeway to kind of give us that human condition of not always living up to our ideals. The paladin itself is most strong, I believe, and I think Bill Sylvie is actually correct. The paladin is most strong in both flavor and mechanics when it is played as it was originally intended in 1st edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I say this as someone who doesn't play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but someone who respects the material immensely, because that's where we come from, damn it. It's our history. I think the idea of 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, which is a book I still need to read, that is on my my reading list, where you have the paladin knighthood aspect presented so forthrightly and so powerfully that it just gives you this distinct idea of what a paladin is supposed to be. I think the paladin is most precious to this RPG when it is human, lawful good, plate armor, big sword. Let's game. Did you enjoy this video? I certainly hope you did. You might expect some music here, but YouTube really doesn't like me using royalty-free stuff and keeps flagging it. So go ahead, drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, leave me a comment. Check out my friends the Brass Drake and Dean of Untold Destiny, the little spinning heads there, and click on the other video. Please do, it really helps out the channel a lot. Have a good one.